Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. I wanna be in that number. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, mind blown as to how that's in this movie.
On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to make a dream come true. So they sprinkled moon dust in.
Oh, fuck. Ugh. Oh. Here we go. Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest rant. I didn't really want this to be a rant, but I can't help it, I'm afraid. So, today I'm back after quite a while. Sorry for the absence. It's been a very busy time for me. I've had a lot to deal with, and I don't always have time to do this now. But yesterday I managed to see this movie, so I'm ready to talk about this. This is my rant of Joker, Folie à Deux. Basically, Joker 2. Joker, Folie à Deux. This movie is the sequel to the, I think it was 2019 Joker film. Yeah, I think so. It came out about 5 years ago, roughly. Directed by Todd Phillips, stars Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, Brendan Gleeson. Struggling with his dual identity, failed comedian Arthur Fleck meets the love of his life, Harley Quinn, while incarcerated at Arkham State Hospital. Adding to that, so as well as this movie being a love story musical, it is also a trial, because after the events of the first film, Arthur is on trial for his crimes, and the film basically wrestles with his conflict of, does he want to let the Joker manifest him, or does he want to manifest Arthur? I wish I could say that it was as good as it sounds, but sadly not. Oh my god, what the fuck did I just watch? The first Joker film was amazing. It was such a surprise. It was such a harrowing piece of film, and it was a really sad film. It's a heavy film. It's the sort of film I could only watch once. I watched it in the cinema and I was completely immersed into it. I was blown away. I couldn't believe how good it was. It really tugged the heartstrings. This movie does none. This movie does none of that. This film is such a big, crushing disappointment. I cannot tell you how much I wanted to love this film. Joker Folie à Deux is one of the worst sequels I've seen in quite some time. This movie is all over the shop. It is a mess and a half of a film. It is such a mess. I don't know where to start. So before I actually go into the film, I probably should say that I can only review this when talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film and don't want it spoiled, then probably best to stay away from this. You can stay if you have seen the film, or if you just don't give a shit about spoilers, then at your discretion. But ye be warned, spoilers are coming. So when we open the film, we basically see Arthur is incarcerated. He's not really saying very much. He's kind of down. He's sort of as his usual self, and a security guard played by Brendan Gleeson is trying to get him to tell a joke, and they all the guards are mocking him, etc., etc. Then he comes across a music class and meets Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga. Admittedly, this is where the movie is at its strong point, where we have this romantic storyline with Arthur and Harley. They do form a romance and they fall in love, which I'll give the movie this. They have chemistry. The two actors do very, very well. Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, they're the best parts of the film. They're the only good parts, really. The film is so bogged down by everything else, but these two act the hell out of this. They make the best of what really is a bad script, in my eyes. And most of the romance is kind of represented through their fantasies, their desires, and that's where the musical element comes in. When I heard that this sequel was going to be musical, I was baffled. I thought, how the fuck are they going to make that work? And in short, they don't. I could see what they were trying to do with the whole representation idea of the dream sequences, or the fantasy sequences, whatever you want to call them, being the moments where the two are in love and dreaming about, putting on a show. Well, they say build a mountain, but basically they're implying that they want to take on the world together. So for nothing else, the romantic connection's good, and whilst the musical numbers were entertaining, beyond that kind of surface level, they didn't really do an awful lot for me. I feel like this film was just trying way too hard to be different and subversive with what is a comic book movie by making it a musical, and ultimately it just came off as a very, very bad gimmick. The music is jarring. It's just so bizarre. It just doesn't work. And it's so random. It just comes out of nowhere. The fantasy sequences are a little better than the real life sequences where the two are singing in prison as such. But all of the sort of show sequences where like they're dressed in costume and makeup, those are kind of cool. And I suppose you could argue that it would be kind of good to see it on stage. But for the film, it felt like it was all done for show. There was the context wasn't enough to carry that. And it just felt like we've seen one too many of these scenes. And then the film, because of its bad pacing, because of its bad storytelling, it just kept going back and forth between this trial scene, which could almost have been from any other film, to then a musical. It just made absolutely no sense. And the film couldn't do anything else. And that's a really big problem for me. Oh my God, this film is way too long. It is way too long. It's like 2 hours, 18 minutes. It really doesn't need to be that long. The whole trial regarding the events of the first movie is just so boring. We don't need to go over this. Most of this film is going over events that happened in the first film. Why do we need to do that? We don't need to go over everything that happened before. The film almost doesn't really have much of a story. Beyond the love story, there really is nothing here. And that trial, honestly, it just bored the hell out of me. This is my problem, because the first film made it so easy for you to empathize with this character. It made it so easy for you to care about Arthur Fleck and his decline in mental health. I think this second film contradicts the first film, and that's a really big problem for me, because it feels like, I thought at the end of the first film he had become the Joker. He had allowed it to manifest in his own persona. But this film wrestles with the identity crisis of like, will he stay as Arthur Fleck? Will he embody the Joker? That decision is really what, is his driving force of the film. But it's such a confusing arc, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, well, why? What was the point of the first film if you're just going to go back on that and have him basically almost do part of the same thing? Again, this is about his mental health and how he declines yet again. But surely he's already beyond the point of no return. So why do this? Why do this? And the ending, oh my God, the ending is so bad. Okay, so the film builds to this trial, and it gets to a point where he fires his lawyer and he decides to represent himself. And then in a complete sort of 180 in the story, he decides to openly admit to his crimes and hand himself in. I'm sorry, what? What was the whole point of the romance? Like, he was supposed to fall in love with this girl and then they were going to go off and be free together. What? If he wanted to do that, why does he suddenly change his mind? It makes literally no sense. It is a fucking mess. I don't understand why he just suddenly chooses to say, fuck it, I'm just gonna go and live in prison for the rest of my life and admit to what I've done. You could make the argument that, okay, he's feeling guilty, he's showing remorse for what he's done, but I don't think so, because if he really is as mentally ill as we've been led to believe, then surely this thing with Harley Quinn is his escape. And rightfully, she turns away from him because she believes that he's a coward and he's gone back on what he promised to her. It's just so confusing because I don't understand the intentions anymore. So as I was saying, yeah, the whole film builds to this trial, and then he suddenly makes that split 180 decision of, oh, you know what, I'm going to renounce everything. And it's like, what? It makes no sense. Why would you do that when everything else was going your way in regards to Harley Quinn? After that, for no reason, which is never explained, we never find out who does this, the courtroom blows up, and it's never explained who does it or why it happens. And then Arthur tries to escape, and then there's this kind of copycat guy who's dressed as the Joker who tries to kidnap him and, well, presumably save his life, but it's never made clear what happens. Then Arthur escapes there, and then he meets up with Harley again, and then he says, oh, I'm ready to go with you now. I'm ready to go with you. So what? Okay, so now he's changed his mind again. Now he wants to go with her again and start this life now that he's free. What? What actually happened? But then Harley decides that she's not gonna go with him because he renounced who he was. She wanted to go with the Joker, not Arthur. She was in love with Joker. But after that, Arthur is found by the police, taken back to prison, and then, in the most anticlimactic way possible, he is killed. Yeah, he dies. He gets killed inside the prison. One of the inmates just comes up to him and says, you know, let me tell you a joke or something like that. And then he stabs him. He's like, so now you get what you deserve. And then he laughs, and then Arthur dies. And presumably the film is trying to tell us, okay, this is what Arthur's wanted for the whole film now. We realize that he just wanted to die. He was so deeply depressed and unhappy. What was this all for, really? I mean, gosh, this is such a bad script. The whole third act of this movie is just such a mess, the way that it is constructed. To be honest, I have no idea. I have no idea what the hell they were thinking. We should be thankful that they've spared us from a third movie. I just don't get this ending. So we don't understand his arc for this film. We don't understand the Joker's character journey. I'm baffled. I'm still trying to think about it and process it, but it's like there's two different scripts going on here at war with each other. This film is just so almost schizophrenic, really. It's kind of at war with itself. It doesn't know exactly what it wants to be. It wants to be a musical, then it wants to be a drama. I don't know. And God, does it drag. This film is so slow. It's far too long. It's incoherent to the hilt. And again, by the time you get sort of almost to an hour in, you're so bored and fed up already that you just watch the mess unfold itself. I really don't know what to say because I'm so disappointed with the way this turned out, because the actors are phenomenal. They're giving their all and the singing is good. But there are times in the film where I think it's odd where they're singing. Like certainly when he's talking to Steve Coogan, he's being interviewed by Steve Coogan, then he suddenly bursts into song. It doesn't make any sense. This film is a cheap gimmick. It is lazy. It tries too hard to be unique, and it doesn't know what to do. And in the end, I left coming out very disappointed because the story is so messy. If it wasn't for that ending, you could have potentially salvaged it. But because the ending is so bad, you don't know what the hell it was all for. And they've ruined the character. They've ruined the first movie. I'm really sorry, but they just have. I'll give it this, though. I like Brendan Gleeson. He was kind of funny. Although it's kind of weird having the song When the Saints Go Marching in a Joker movie. It's a little strange. I'm not going to lie to you there. But like I said, the actors do a good job. I think Todd Phillips' direction is out of control here. I don't know if that was the intention, that he wanted to create some kind of out of control vibe, but it doesn't work for me. If the script was a lot better, then this film would have worked. I mean, I think this film is trying to be sold as a love story, but I don't buy it. Despite the good chemistry with the actors, I don't buy the intentions of the central protagonist, and especially with how confusing they make Arthur's motivations here. Why should I care about this character? If he really is genuinely showing remorse for what he's done, okay, fine, but the movie isn't sure whether he's doing that. And should I really invest in this romance with Harley Quinn when he's presumably still going through this mental decline, and you know, whether we can't seem to work out what his true intentions are, so I have no room to invest in this film. Oh God, the first film was so good. It was so good. What happened, guys? This movie is a mess. It is terrible, and I am so disappointed with how this turned out. I mean, Lady Gaga, I hope she gets her paycheck, because she's great in this movie. And it's a nice new interpretation of Harley Quinn. It's not as over the top, as insane as some other versions. And it's kind of a nice contrast to Margot Robbie's version, I have to say. It's not a direct rip-off. She did something kind of interesting. She brought a lot of herself, I think, to the character. But it just, ultimately, this movie just does not work. It doesn't work as a new, innovative way to tell a comic book film in a musical. It doesn't work. The trial scene is way too long and dull, and they're just pondering over stuff from the first film because they haven't got enough of a story to tell with this one. And it's a really big problem for me. It's a really big problem when you have to rely on events of the first movie to tell your story. Again, aside the romance, there really isn't anything to sort of take away from this film, and I hope the actors got paid very well. That's all I'll say. So all I'll say is I will give Joker Folie à Deux. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10.
On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to make a dream come true. So they sprinkled moon dust in.
That's all I can give it. I'm so disappointed, guys. I'm so crushed by this film. I will say this, though. The cinematography is beautiful. It does look fantastic, and the production values are brilliant. And those fantasy musical sequences are amazing. They're like, in terms of the way they're put together, they're amazing. They don't work in the context of the movie, but if this was some kind of Joker musical fan film, then I could kind of see the point more, but it's not. So I'm sorry to be very negative, but unfortunately that's the experience I had. It just, I really don't understand those reviews on the poster. I really don't. I don't buy into the drama of this film. I just really don't. So that's my rant on Joker Folie à Deux. So what did you think? Please comment down below, let me know, and stay tuned next time for more reviews. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya.